So for the first series of lectures, we're going to be talking about this question here. So thinking about, do we have any good reasons to trust our moral intuition? And for this lecture today, the first lecture, we're going to be looking at how to analyze philosophical questions and how to break down this question about moral intuitions. So first thing to think about then is how to analyze philosophical questions most generally. So one of the things that I want to stress to you guys really quickly is that when it comes to philosophical questions, it's really important to pick up on specific words that are in the question. So you guys should already be used to doing this if you study any essay subjects, or indeed, any exam subjects in general. You're often encouraged to pick up on the specific wording of the questions. But I want to stress that in philosophy, this is really important because keywords can be ambiguous. And so they might admit of a multitude of meanings. And so based on how we interpret particular words in the question will really change how we're going to answer that question in the first place. So consider an example then. So one example that we might think of is this question here. Is belief in free will compatible with belief in modern physics? So this is a pretty classic philosophy question, thinking about whether free will is going to be undermined by what's called determinism. So the idea that physical facts are kind of fixed in some way by the laws of nature. So immediately when I look at this question, what I'm going to think of is, well, the way that I'm going to answer this question is really going to hinge on how I understand the meaning of the term free will. And so strong responses to questions of this kind are really going to have to hinge on considering a range of possible definitions. So thinking about what lots of different people could mean by the term free will and thinking about which ways we can interpret that in a way that's plausible. Okay. So thinking about our question. So our question, just as a reminder, is, do we have any good reasons to trust our moral intuition? So for an exercise, one of the things that I want you guys to try and do if you're watching this recording is to have a pause for a second and take 2 minutes to try and think about the most important words in this question. So I want to encourage you to try and be as broad as possible. So think about any words in this question that could admit of a variety of meanings or that you're going to have to try and define when it comes to tackling this question. So just take 2 minutes now. Okay, so hopefully you've paused and had a go at that. So here are some thoughts of mine about how you can kind of profitably tackle this question in terms of the analysis and the unpacking of it. So one thing that sticks out to me is the word trust. So when trust comes up in philosophy, it comes up in a few different places. But one of the questions that I think is important here about trusting our moral intuition is, how confident do we need to be in our intuitions in order for this to count as trusting them? So when it comes to trust, it normally comes up in the context of people. So we're trusting other people in terms of the information that they've provided us or trusting them to do certain things. So in this kind of informational context, then it seems like trust is very much about truth. So I trust someone if, and perhaps only if, I believe that the things that they are telling me are more than likely to be true.